Hey readers, I'm Danny.
And I'm Leandra, and we are not reading for content.
This is a monthly book club podcast dedicated to reading in depth and leaving no plot point unturned. Each month, we read one book over the course of 3 episodes, basically reading 1/3 of the book at a time. Feel free to listen along, or better yet, read the book with us. Our first season of the book club has the theme of genre blends. A list of books and the club schedule will be in the description.
Welcome to Not Reading for Content's first official book club read, The Village Library Demon Hunting Society by C.M. Wagner. We are very excited to kick off this genre blend season with this book. We're going to be getting excited. We're going to be reading the synopsis, posing some theories, some expectations. But first and foremost, let's do this week's bookish bite. So, Danny, it is January 2025 as of this publication of this episode. What is one resolution or reading goal that you have for 2025?
Well, the daunting task of creating goals for the year. I am a goal-oriented person, so I like checklists. I like to keep myself accountable, even though I don't always accomplish my goals, and it's fine if you don't. But I have decided to amp up my series goal a little bit this year. I had a pretty strict one a couple of years ago, and it was a little intense throughout the year. So this past year, I lessened it a little bit, but I think I've gotten a little bit out of hand and I would like to get it back under control. What I'm going to do this year is for every book series that I start, I also have to continue a series. So a book for a book, just so I am not forgetting about the series that I have already started. What about you? What are you going to do this year?
Well, first and foremost, I love that challenge because it's attainable, but it's not easy. You have to be mindful, keep track of what you're doing, and that's exactly what we want to do as we move forward with our reading goals every year. For my goal, it is kind of similar in that I want to keep track of what I'm reading and also make sure that I'm not losing any type of series, books that are meaningful for me along the way. But to do that, I'm actually planning on reading less in 2025. That sounds a bit crazy as we start this podcast all about reading together and reading with community. But I have found to date, I've read over 200 books in 2024. And actually, spoiler alert, friends, we're recording this in December. So the year isn't over yet. I've got more books to read. And I realize that I think less is more sometimes. It's good to read when you have free time, and I'm very fortunate to have free time this year, but I wish that I didn't speed through books as quickly as I did to get to the next one. So my primary goal for this year is to read at least one less book than I did in 2024, and we're just going to call it a day from there.
It allows you to focus on some books that you're really loving, and yeah, like you said, not have the pressure of, always one more book and always one more book. You'll be able to enjoy your reading maybe a little bit more.
Exactly. And that's the whole point of this podcast. It's also why we like to take our time with our reads, reading 3 sections at a time. I think that that has helped me realize that sometimes it's better to savor a book than to read it within 24, 48 hours. So, on that note, speaking of, let's start talking about the Village Library Demon Hunting Society. What a name. We are going to be slipping up, friends. We might try to create an acronym because this is a mouthful, but for now, we're going to go strong with it. And let's talk about the synopsis. I know that you have it, Danny, so how about you read it for us?
And this is our first time kind of leaning into this. So we know a little bit about the book, but we're definitely going in more blind than I typically do. But I am excited about it. So this says a librarian with a knack for solving murders realizes there is something decidedly supernatural afoot in her little town in this cozy fantasy mystery, which I'm already excited.
I'm
I
so
know we really
excited.
I know. We really enjoyed fantasy mysteries recently, and to slap cozy in front of that, okay, sign me up. And then, so it says that librarian Sherry Pink Whistle, what a name, right along with the title.
Perfect.
Sherry Pink Whistle keeps finding bodies and solving murders, but she's concerned by just how many killers she's had to track down in her quaint little village. None of her neighbors seem surprised by the rising body count, but Sherry is becoming convinced that whatever has been causing these deaths is unnatural. when someone close to Sherry ends up dead and her cat, Lord Thomas Cromwell, which okay, I have to stop. The cat's name is Lord Thomas Cromwell. Okay, becomes possessed by what seems to be an ancient demon, Sherry begins to think she's going to need to become an exorcist as well as an amateur sleuth. With some help of her town's new priest and an assortment of friends who dub themselves the Demon Hunting Society, Sherry will have to solve the murder and get rid of the demon. Eee!
Woohoo! I love the cat's name. What a distinguished gentleman that he is, but it says that he might be possessed by a demon. I mean, classic cat behavior. So I think that that kind of makes sense. But this seems to pack a punch. That also mentions on the back of the book that it's a mix of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Murder She Wrote, which I'm definitely really intrigued by. I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and also I grew up with Murder She Wrote. So if this exceeds the expectations or even at least meets them, this will be a really good book for us.
Yes, I'm so down. I am a little like I'm slightly hesitant because I know cozy in the past. I love cozy books, but sometimes every once in a while they do tend to be more surface level. But this sounds like it says it has an assortment of friends. So I'm thinking like maybe a ragtag gang, like maybe a Scooby gang. And, of course, we have our cat involved. I am curious because it does say that Sherry has obviously she's finding all these bodies and no one is concerned. So is there gonna be how many deaths are we gonna see? Or are we gonna come into the scene, having no one died yet?
I do love a book that can pack a few dead bodies in its pages. I love when you're just finding one, a few chapters later, we got another one, and you're just like, who is going to survive this? So if that ends up being the case, I'm totally down. But I echo your concerns when it comes to the term cozy. First of all, we use it so flippantly these days. It
Yeah,
is attached to every single book, and you just can't be certain of one, how cozy it can be and what kind of version of cozy. Are we thinking heartwarming? Are we thinking thought provoking? And maybe found family being a theme? Or is it cozy because it is a bit mindless? It's a popcorn read. It's not expecting us to be feeling deeply for these characters or with, important character development. I also hope that it's more cozy because of the fantastical elements. I mean, we're dealing with a witch and obviously a possessed cat. Those seem like cozy features. Now, if it leans cozy mystery, as a huge mystery fan, I will say that my crutch happens to be in the cozy mystery subgenre. I'm not really a big fan of it. So I'm hoping that the coziness comes from the fantastical elements, not involving the puzzle of the mystery we're trying to solve.
yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yep. Well, on that note, though, let's actually keep in mind what we're going to be reading moving forward. So, per usual, the plan is to read this in 3 sections. So, we are going to be reading chapters 1 through 9 for part 1, and that's what we're going to be discussing next week together. So, be sure to mark that down, whether it's for your audiobook, your ebook, or your physical book, however, you're going to be reading with us. And also to give us a little bit of an additional taste, I thought we could read the first paragraph that I'm not going to lie, I did, look at it and it looks great. So I'm going to read that for you guys. Sherry Pinkwhistle woke up to the deep silence of snowfall, cozily ensconced in the warmth of her bed and the knowledge that she had just solved another murder. How do we feel about that first paragraph?
I love, first off, the description of being warm and cozy in a bed because right now I need a little bit of warmth in my life. We've just had our first snow here and I'm not ready for it. And I also enjoy the fact that murder is mentioned in the first paragraph of the book.
Me too. I love that, especially because what's interesting is we're not dealing necessarily with an amateur sleuth then. We're dealing with someone who has solved a crime before. So, yes, she's still kind of an amateur because it's not like it's her profession, but she's experienced with investigations. And sometimes that isn't necessarily the case when you're entering a book. So, I love that this author is ensuring us no, we are probably in good hands. This woman, Sherry Pinkwhistle, has done this once or twice before. And I agree. When I read that first paragraph, just to see what we were getting into today, I thought, what a perfect book for January, because we are also very much in winter at this point, and it's really fun to know that this book is, at least at the start, also occurring during winter.
Yes. I also like the fact that we have an amateur sleuth that has solved a murder before, but why? Why has a librarian of all people in this quaint little village, the one who's solving the mysteries or the murders? Why do we not have, an actual detective? Where is the law enforcement? I'm curious about this world already.
And similarly, we know that murder happens pretty frequently, and there's already a well established village library demon hunting society. I was wondering if it would be formed due to the murders, due to the possession of this distinguished cat that we have. But it seems, at least according to the synopsis, unless I got it wrong, that this is a society that already exists. So, how often do they find themselves riddled with demon problems in this village? It'll be interesting to find out. Well, to wrap up this introduction to our first read for 2025, let's make some bets. How many bodies do you actually think will be at the end of this book? Once it's all said and done, whether the mystery is solved or not, how many dead bodies do you think we're going to have, Danny?
This like Price is Right. I can't go over the number.
I know, right? That's a great goal. We shouldn't try to go over. So don't say 10 just because it sounds fun. It's probably not going to be the number.
I'm gonna say 4. 4 is my guess.
Ooh, I love the tenacity, the idea that we're gonna have a quartet of bodies. Okay. Well, in that case, I'll try not to, be too close to you. I'll go small. I'll go 2. I'm hoping for 4 though. I hope you're right. Let's just say that. Like, I hope I'm wrong because 4 sounds great, or more than that, but I'll be the reserved one and I'll say 2 bodies.
Well, there's only one way to find out. Pick up your books and read with us. Also, don't forget to leave us a comment in how many dead bodies you think there will be.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Not Reading for Content. Be sure to check the description for a schedule of our upcoming reads for this season. And for reminders and other updates, you can follow the podcast on Instagram at Not Reading for Content. Where else can listeners find you, Danny?
I have a booktube and an Instagram. Both can be found at danny.dabbles. What about you?
I have the same platforms. My booktube is at Leandra the TBR0, and my Instagram is at Leandra _ the TBR0. Thanks again for listening. Don't forget to tune in next Friday for our next episode.